If you're a homeowner, there's probably some tools that you're going to need to just kind of get by with your day-to-day. So here's kind of the 5 tools that I picked out that I think everybody should have. Okay, tool number 1, we're going to go with this little guy here, which is what I call Whistling Pete. And what this tool will let you do is you can go to any outlet and find out if it's live or if it's dead. This is very useful if you're changing a light switch or an electrical plug in your house and you just want to make sure that you're not going to electrocute yourself. So that's where this little guy comes in. Super easy to use. They're a no contact sensor, which means this is just a plastic tip and it just senses the electricity by proxy. So you don't have to worry about sticking the prong inside the outlet and electrocuting yourself that way by trying to use the tool. So that's tool number 1. The second tool that I've got on the list is a multi-tip screwdriver. This name brand here is Irwin, and this has got to be probably the favorite screwdriver I've used ever. Comes apart into 2 pieces, so you got your handle and then you got this different bank of screws or screw bits. Pull that apart, got 2 bits on that end and same thing on the other side, and you got a couple more bits here, and these come apart even further to have more bits inside there to choose from. The good part about this tool is you can put these things all back together and they're locked in there with the little ball bearing that you kind of see up there. So you don't have to worry about them falling apart. Plus it's compact. So once it goes back together, it's the same size as your standard screwdriver, except it's got all the bits that you need. So whatever little repairs you have around the house, this is just a must-have. I use this thing all the time. This is my go-to. It's actually on my desk here right beside me. And anytime I need to take and fasten a screw or just take something apart, this is one of my go-tos that's in the house all the time. All right, enough about that guy. Okay, next up is a set of needle nose pliers. Now, if you're going to get a set of needle nose pliers, just go ahead and spend some money on buying at least a decent pair. Actually, what I'll do is I'll leave links in the description of all of these tools so that you guys know it's decent quality stuff. That's the biggest thing about tools. When you're buying stuff, don't buy cheap junk because you'll regret it forever. And you'll likely just burn through the tool or use it up really quickly and you'll buy another one. Anyway, back to the tools. So this is a needle nose set of pliers. The side right here has a cut tip. So if you just want to quickly snip off a wire, that's one good way to do it. And what you're looking for with a needle nose plier when you're buying them is if you look right at the tip there, notice how those teeth come totally together. And a little bit further down they do not, but they're nicely serrated. That's a good set of needle nose pliers. These things will last. They should also have some weight, and if possible, the handle, you want to make sure that they're dipped so that these things don't slide. Nothing's worse than when you're trying to use a tool and one of the grips comes off on you. So a dipped handle, must have. These things, it's just something you reach for constantly to get into little tight corners to pull something out or whatever it is. So definitely a must have for any home. So here's my easiest tip for you actually, before we get to the next tool, is if you have a dad or a cousin or somebody that you know is a handy person and can get stuff done around the house, ask them if they have any tools that have a nickname. If the tool has a nickname, it's going to be a winner. You want to buy it. Hence, the intro to my next tool. This is Franklin. And Franklin is such a good tool. Franklin actually gets a translated Spanish name as well. I also call this little guy Pancho. Pancho, he gets called Pancho when I really want something aggressive that I can beat up. And Franklin just when I want to use the pry bar end of this. So the first question you're going to ask if you don't have one of these is, why don't I just buy a big pry bar? Well, the answer is simple. This thing is not very thick. I mean, if we compare it to a screwdriver head, you can see how thin that end is. And the same is true for the opposite end. So this is extremely useful if you want to slam this underneath a 2x4 or between 2x4s or 2x6s or lumber and you want to pop them out. Now the first thing I thought when I bought this tool is I am going to snap this thing, but I needed it for one use. And that's what I bought it for. And as you can tell by the rash use, or the use of rashes that this thing has, it has been heavily used over the years. And it has done me very, very well. There are many times where I was making very valiant attempts to completely break this thing. And as you can see, I never succeeded. Up to and including, I've actually taken out pieces of concrete with this thing by pulling out steel lag bolts that are in the concrete. Busted the concrete all around. This tool held up. It's got a nice little nail puller at the one end, which is really good for getting stuck nails out, but the best use of this thing is exactly what's intended of it. It's to be used as a pry bar. And it doesn't always have to be destructive either. If you're setting in some windows, or you're putting something in where you lightly need to just kind of lift it to exactly the right spot and you don't have much room to work, it's such a go-to for me. If it can't get in between two objects, I just beat the absolute tar out of the backside of this thing with a hammer to smash it into place, and then I'll pry. I will jump on this thing. I will do everything. I've used 2x4s to leverage off of, and I've never busted it. So great tool. Enough said. It's a pry bar. It's thin, and it gets into the spots you need it to get to. And I haven't managed to break it, so I'll make sure to leave that link down below. Next up, a little bit less surprising for this one, a side cutter. Now, if you're thinking, well, I already got the cutters on my needle nose pliers that you just recommended here. These are going to take a little bit thicker of a gauge of wire, and the other thing that's really nice with these is you can often use these as a auxiliary nail puller as well. If the head is totally popped off of a nail, get a hold of this thing, smash this underneath with a hammer, and pop it up, and you can pull out just about anything with that combination right there. Cutting zip ties, this thing does great for that. I mean, anything that you need plastic or metal or just a little piece of tin snipped off, I use them all the time. They're in my electrical kit. That's primarily what I use them for, is electrical, but flush mount cutters, that's the other nice thing, is because it's got a flush mount, you can get right close to something and snip it off. So that's really nice as well. So definitely another plus tool. So the last one here for bonus tools that every homeowner needs, or bonus cheap tools that every homeowner needs, that's actually what I should title this thing, is the liquid wrench. Now, yes, I know it's not a tool, but this stuff, I use this stuff everywhere. There's always a squeaky hinge, a squeaky doorknob, something that's binding a little bit. Patio doors, when they freeze up in winter, boom. Basically, if it's stuck, that's your go-to right there. You can't go wrong with this stuff. I've tried a bunch of different lubes over the years. This is the best one I've ever found. If you guys know of a better one, roll it down in the description. But yeah, it's very limited. You don't need a whole heck of a lot. It goes on clear. It wipes off easily if you accidentally get some overspray onto whatever your paint inside the house when you're doing a hinge. But yeah, you'll need this. Or if you got a bolt that's stuck, a liquid wrench. Unsqueaking thing since 1983. Whatever, it's good. I like it. I use it. The other thing is, people complain about these cans. They sometimes go for a little bit of money, or they're expensive, or some of the comments I've read online. I've had this can for years. Like, we're 10 years plus. You don't need much of this stuff. I've used it on my garage doors, door hinges, just anything. Anything that's stuck or squeaking, put that stuff on there, and it's usually good for at least a year plus. For house hinges, actually, this stuff is, oh, it's so good. It just lasts a long time. It also works on, might need a disclaimer on this one. It also does work for like electrical motors if they're squeaking, but it is flammable, it is explosive, so use at your own risk. Clearly, I'm Mr. Safety Third, so you know I've done it. So you'll love this. I was trying to go around the house to film some B-roll of how well this stuff worked, or some videos showing you guys how well this works on door hinges. I've been through the entire house. I can't find a single door hinge that squeaks at all. And that's probably because I did that about 7 months ago in spring of this year. So, case in point. Notice the only thing you heard was the clicking here. It works really well. So that's it. That's all I got for my list here. If there's something you guys think that I missed, leave it down in the description, and maybe I'll have to include it if I do another one of these videos ever. I don't know. If you like that list, be sure to click on the video beside me here. It's going to have the power tools I think everybody should have.